Okay, everybody, welcome to this morning's Bambuddha Boost. We're very lucky to have Tracey Sofra here today. Tracey is quite an extraordinary individual, and she's dedicating her career and her life to helping people just get a better mindset around money, to understand what their relationship with money looks like, how to best utilize that relationship with money, and how to set themselves up in a position where they're not just going to survive, they're going to thrive. So with regards to having Tracey on the show today, we are very, very lucky. She's a very sought after speaker and an absolute expert in her field. So I'm going to do what I do best. Thank you very much for being here, Tracey. I'm going to disappear and hand over to you for some top tips, advice and inspiration this morning.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen now and I'm going to get started. Welcome everyone. Thank you for your time. I know time is valuable and we're all a bit scattered lately, but I'm going to get straight into it. I'm going to put my timer on my phone here so I don't run over time, because I do like to having a bit of a chat. So having said that, let's get started. Okay. I love this quote. I'm a bit of a quote girl, so I'm going to kind of frame it up for you. I read this about 6 months ago and I love it. And quotes for me, they resonate with me. I actually copy them and put them in a Word doc so I can pull them at any one time. So life isn't about waiting for the winds to change. Life is about learning to adjust your sails, right? How powerful is that? And how empowering is that when you can hear that? And really what that means to me is you just can't wait for the perfect time. You've just got to take the bull by the horns and you've got to take life into your own hands, and particularly when it comes to money. So if you're going to change your life, first and foremost, and everything in life is a mind game, right? You've got to change the way that you're thinking, because if your thinking's not right, I always say it from an angle of what lens are you looking through, because you can quite easily change that lens. I am the eternal optimist. I am naturally a positive person, so innately I think like this, and I believe, and this is why I'm so passionate about it, because I believe that in life we should have choice, and that choice gives you the freedom to live the way that you want, right? Isn't that what we all ultimately want? But how do we get that without money? See, money's the thing that gives us that choice to live the way that we want, and we seem to be ignoring it at 100 miles an hour. And I constantly hear this comment, which I'm just going to say it, is just so wrong. And it really is a cop-out. Money doesn't buy you happiness. Well, that is not true, because if happiness is having choice, having freedom to live the way that you want, to express yourself, to do what you want, whatever that may be, for your security, for your family's security, philanthropy, missions, changing the world, whatever you want to do with your life, how do you do that without this? So there's my argument, and that is the one of my sticking points that I always try and overcome with people when they say money doesn't buy you happiness. Let's just have a look at the impact that financial independence will have, if you get financial independence, in all the other areas of your life. It has what I call a ripple effect, because I've seen this, and believe it or not, I've been advising for 30 years now, and I've seen this in action. I've seen women who get past their stuff, which I'm just about to get into now, and get past the money mind games and understand who they are, what they stand for, what their values are, realign their behavior with their adult values. They get past all of this and they start making decisions. And it's only when we act that things actually change. But once they start getting over their stuff and acting out and taking steps in their financial lives, every other area in there improves and changes. It's like a domino effect. All of a sudden, their wellness, like the stress of it's gone. So their physical health, their mental health, it improves. Their mindset changes, because all of a sudden it's this, oh my God, I got this, I can do this. It's this incredible confidence that all of a sudden comes into every single area of their lives. that then flows onto their work. It flows onto the relationships they have with their families. It improves their spirituality, their social and personal lives. It just ripples through the whole thing. But it starts with getting all over your finances. And the only way you can do that is by looking at where you come from. So I just want to give you 1 second, let's say 5 seconds. I want you to write down, I know you're not going to be able to interact with me at this point, but I just want you to stop and use one word and jot it down that describes financial freedom to you. And I'm hoping this is just going to give you some sort of a jolt, a reality check at this point. So let's just give you, I've got my phone here, let's just give you 5 seconds. One word, could be 2 words, whatever it is. And don't overthink it, just dump it out of your head, write it down. What does financial freedom mean to you? What's the word that describes it best for you? What resonates in the pit of your gut? And I want you to hang on to that as you listen to what I'm going to say. So I talk about these 3 pillars, and today we've only got time to touch on mindset, but money mastery really is about the mind first and foremost, because it always starts there. It is about skilling yourself up, and then with the mind and the skill, you've got to take action. But I wanted to show you that to get some context around what I'm talking about when it comes to money. Let's move straight into money mindset. This is where it all starts. We've got to go back in order to go forward. And to go back means we've got to go back to your past. We've got to look at the emotional stories. I call these the emotional stories. And what I mean by this is this. If you come from a family of spenders, highly likely you're going to be a spender. If you come from a family of savers, highly likely you're going to become a saver. Ultimately, the relationships in your life can have an impact on that as well. But generally speaking, what you see at home is what you adopt in your adult life, unless there's a circuit breaker, unless there's a moment like this where you're going, oh my God, then nothing changes. So let me share my story with you so it resonates. I come from a family who lived from paycheck to paycheck. We had no savings. Everything was purchased on loans. They were paid and everything was fine, but there was never a mindset around saving. We used credit cards for discretionary spending, and that's how I grew up. So there was never any focus on money, on accumulation of money, or even thinking about the future. I took that, which is what I call my financial blueprint. I took that, no questions asked, and I adopted it in my early adult life. And it was business as usual. I did the same thing. Had a credit card, which I loved. I lived paycheck to paycheck. There was no savings, and I didn't know any better. And my epiphany came when I had an ugly moment in my early adult life. And back then, there was none of this internet stuff. And I got my credit card statement, and it had blown out. And I had an incredibly disturbing moment. And at that point, I don't have time to go into the full story, but I had convinced myself that someone had hacked me, right? I'd been hacked. I had to get to the bank and I had to sort it out ASAP. My legs were like jelly. My stomach was turning. I had to get in the car. I had to go to the bank. Back in those days, that's what we did. We didn't have phones, remember? For those of you old enough to remember, I was waiting for my turn. I grabbed hold of the counter as she said, next please. And I blurted all of this out. And she said, Trace, just a minute, let's have a look at what's going on. And as she turned to the screen and pulled up the transactions and read them out to me, my stomach dropped. Because at that point, I realised I hadn't been hacked. I'd hacked myself. So with my tail between my legs, I walked out of the bank and I vowed that I would never, ever, and I'm getting goosebumps again every time I tell this story. But this is the point. This is the point that changed everything for me. And I thought, what the hell am I doing here? And it was then that I thought I would never look back. So this is what I'm talking about. This was my financial blueprint. Have I overcome it 100%? No, of course not. It's not something you can eliminate. It is something that is part of you. But what you can do is understand it or bring it to the surface, understand it, incorporate strategies to set yourself up for success and not failure, which is the skill set piece. and make sure that you uncover that. So they are your emotional stories. Questions like, what was it like at home? Was there stress around money? Was it an abundant mindset? Or was it always there wasn't enough? Did you hear from your parents, what do you think I am, made of money? Money doesn't grow on trees. Or was it all relaxed? Was there always enough? Did mum and dad say to you when you got your first job, come over here, Sarah, we're going to set up a savings account. What you're going to do is you're going to put, $50 away, a week away into this savings account. What were the conversations? What were your emotional stories? What are the stories that happened when you were at home? Are you still doing that right now in your adult life? You need to stop and go, what am I actually doing? How am I managing my money? The next step in this process is to then do a values assessment. Now, I did two in the last week. I love them. You just get online and there's 101 of them, right? In my program, I obviously have a specific one. But doing a values questionnaire simply says this: who am I? What do I believe in? What's important to me? And what are my not negotiables? And what do I stand for? Who am I now as an adult? Because remember, we get to choose. We've grown up. We're not home with mum and dad anymore. And because we get to choose, we need to understand who we are, what we stand for. Once you can navigate that and kind of bring it down to say 5, maybe 10, 5's probably best, of your top values, you then need to look at your behavior that came from your financial blueprint, from your emotional stories, and then have a look at them, that behavior in line with your current adult values, and do they match? Is your money behavior going to give you what you want in life? So one of my greatest values, top values, is freedom and financial independence. So do you think, I laugh now, do you think that that value was going to be achieved by me doing the stuff that I was doing? Absolutely not. Total mismatch, right? So it's about behavioral management. It's about managing that process and aligning that behavior with your adult values. And then we take the right steps and move on and achieve that freedom that we so desire. This is what I'm talking about. I'm just going to check the time. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about your money mindset. You need to go back in order to go forward. So having said that, you need to look at money and what the connection is with you and your money stories. I have lots of questionnaires around this, and you're going to have epiphanies. You're going to have aha moments. When I did these questionnaires, you know what I did? I went, oh my God, I'm my father. And, you'd think someone like me working in the industry, doing this stuff day in, day out, would recognize their own. This was very early in my adult life, the behavior that I was exhibiting and what I was doing. Another big thing in my life was that I came into a profession that looks at money, deals with money. And then I married someone that actually gets money and has a totally different financial blueprint to me. So I had all of these other external factors allowing me to adapt and change and align my behavior with my adult values. And let me just point out quickly, the adult values, they will shape and mold and change as you grow and evolve as a person. Whatever they are a year ago won't necessarily be exactly the same as they are today. They generally stay the same. I mean, things like, for me, freedom, integrity, honesty, loyalty, family, financial independence, those sorts of things are never really going to go away. So make sure that you're looking at your values at least 12 monthly. So the final piece that I know I've got about 2 minutes on the clock. Once you've nailed that, once you understand where you come from, what's important to you, how you need to align that to move forward, you need to understand the biggest secret that nobody shares. And it's not making the money. It's keeping the money. Because guess what? We all make money. I mean, it's Thursday, I get paid again, right? So I always ask clients when I'm working with them, be it on wages or in business, do you know what's happened to the money? When I talk to business clients, we've turned over 1.5 mil, Trace. Fantastic. Happy with that. What did you do with it? How much did you keep? And then what did you do with that money? This is the secret. This is the one and only thing that matters the most, because unless we nail this, You can't create wealth for yourself. How can you create wealth if you don't nail the cash flow? So I'm going to share with you 3 cash flow patterns. I'm guessing you're going to want more of this stuff, but I'm offering a 30-minute discovery session, so don't stress. 3 cash flow patterns that I've seen over the last 30 years, and this is how it works. Cash flow pattern of the poor. What they earn, they spend on living expenses, and there's nothing left. So this was me, paycheck to paycheck. That's it. It just goes round and round circles and nothing ever changes. The middle class, they still earn an income. Now I've got wage in there, but wage could be your business income. It doesn't matter. And as a business owner and being business owners, you'll know that if you're in business, you pay yourself a wage too. So the key point here is the income that comes in. Look at number 1 there. Again, living expenses, they're doing first. I mean, that's how we're raised, right? Make sure you're paying all the bills, make sure no one's knocking on your door. That's fine. And I'm not going against that, but I'm going to challenge that in the next slide with you. So the middle class, they do the same. They get their income, they spend it on living expenses, and then they spend what's left on what they think are assets, which are actually money pits. I call them toys. I've got a house in there, but I don't have time. There's my time, right? I'm going to quickly finish up, but let's just stop that.
Feel free to continue for a couple of minutes if you need to, Tracey.
Yep, thank you.
Good stuff. We need this stuff.
I just need to turn off this godforsaken clock. So the middle class, they pay their living expenses first as well, and then they put money into what I call money pits. Cars, boats, caravans, I call them toys. They're great to have, don't get me wrong, but there's a time and a place. So we can't forego our future self for instant gratification. And there's a whole other topic, right, that I could talk about. But I see this happening all the time. So they're money pits. They're things that, nice to have, they're lifestyle assets. Do they put money back in your pocket? No, they don't. Here's what the rich do. This is what the wealthy do. They too make money. Because remember, we all make money, and it's not how much you make, it's what you keep and then what you do with that. What do they do first? Can you see that their number 1 is the money trees? They pay themselves first. It's called pay yourself first. It's this. Take the 10 to 30% off the top, away in this account for your future self for investing. What's left? I promise you, you will learn to live on. We extend ourselves to the max of what we have or what capacity we have in our own hands. It's human nature to do that, right? What you're going to do in this situation is once you've taken that cream to the side for your future self, you then have what's left over for your living expenses. Yeah. So living expenses are number 2, not number 1. And then what you do is with any money left over, you can buy some toys. This is where you have the guilt-free spending on toys. But what do the money trees do? Can you see number 4 where the money trees feed back into your income? So I often say this, imagine using, say you want to buy a car and you've got the cash to actually buy that car. You would be better off putting that cash into an investment that returns an income, and then that income can allow you to buy that car. It's a shifting of the mindset. It is just different in the way that you look at it. These are the strategies that I've used and I use every single day of my life, not just with clients. My husband and I do this every single day of our lives. This works. This is the way it works. And this is the difference between living from paycheck to paycheck to then putting money aside, paying yourself first and using it later to then invest. That's what will be the game changer. So first and foremost, we need to get ourselves from our financial blueprint, from our emotional stories, unearth that, bring it out as ugly as it is and as raw as it is and as uncomfortable as it is. You've got to face it, and then you've got to look at who you are in the mirror today and align that stuff. Get your stuff together and then understand that the biggest power you have in your hand is your ability to work and make an income. But don't blow it because we're young, yeah? We can't see, dare I say the word retirement. And we don't retire these days, do we? We have choice. So we don't necessarily retire. We go, you know what, I might work 2 days a week. I might work remotely. I might do that. And it's beautiful that we have all of these now. But at one point in your life, if you haven't created the assets that put money back into your pocket, when you stop working with your hands, I say physically, where you've physically got to show up, because if you don't show up and do the do, you don't get the paycheck. One day that's going to stop. Have you in your working life created assets on the other side here that then starts paying you an income when you decide you've had enough and you want more flexibility? That's the key. Words of wisdom. Just want to share these with you. Save at least 1/10 of what you earn. Minimum 10, max 30, more if you can. Control spending. Do not, under any circumstances, spend more than you make. But that doesn't mean be a miser, because I don't like the negative mindset around money. I actually believe in positive energy around money. So think about how you can make more money rather than thinking about skimping on that coffee. That's just degrading. I'm not of that mindset at all. Invest on a regular basis, regardless of the market. So right now, to bring it into context, basic principles of investing, basic principles of what I've spoken about never ever change. They are universal. But what's exaggerated right now because of COVID is, shit, I didn't have a cash cushion. I probably should have done that. Absolutely. Nothing changes. This is more a situation where the world goes, oh, did you have your shit together? No, I didn't. Well, maybe I should. So basic principles never ever change. And had this information been more abundant and had people been more prepared, there wouldn't be that much stress around money now, would there? Because you'd have your cash cushion and you wouldn't have to worry about it financially. Start early, and if you haven't, it's never too late. I never ever want people to think, nah, I'm done, horse is bolted, I can't do this. Yes, you can. And protect what you have by diversifying. Seek advice, please. Make sure you don't listen to people, but seek good advice and make sure you're speaking to someone that feels good in your gut. Yeah, make sure you're getting that good connection, and have an action plan and stick to it. There's lots of other words of wisdom, but I'll leave it there in the interest of time because I know there's going to be some Q&A. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Tracey. I don't think that could have been better timing for a lot of people right now. And, what's the next steps with how people can engage with you? Because I know you've got a free ebook. We've dropped the link in there. But you're actually offering 30-minute consultation calls at the moment, aren't you, for anybody that wants to have a little bit of a chat with you and find out how they're tracking and maybe what next steps they could take. What's the benefit of doing one of those calls, Tracey?
What happens is, I'll just show the screen. So if you contact me, I can send you a copy of my book. I'll pay for the postage. There's a free ebook you can download, and it's got all this. And this is the 30-minute chat. I've been doing this for quite a while, and what I'm able to do in this is highlight things that are necessarily holding you back. I'm just going to listen, and what I've found is I can listen to someone, dissect the information, and pretty much say, you know what, I think you're at this stage. I think these are the things you really need to be addressing. So I guess it will give them, if they want to take the time, because I know time's valuable, but if they want to invest in their time, take the time to chat to me for half an hour, what it will give them, I'm guessing, is some sort of clarity of where they are right now. And that may actually be, hell, I'm on track, I'm great, I'm doing great. And that's nice to know too, isn't it? Validation's a great thing to know you're on track. Or it may be something where they're already got a plan in place, doing some stuff, but just need a little bit of, because, I do that with my mentors, right? I often go down a path doing stuff and I think, have I gone down the right path? Have I taken the right steps? You just need someone to validate it or just realign you. So it's incredibly valuable.
Awesome. Thank you, Tracey. And do we have any questions today from anybody? Well, we do have Tracey held hostage for another 5 minutes.
Oh, it's not hostage. I love doing this.
Yeah.
You've got all the links up there.
Yes, we've got the links. We've got the questionnaire for anybody that wants to do the questionnaire and get a better understanding of how they're going and what those stories are with relationships to money. And, you know, it's a real thing. You know, I can talk about my backgrounds and, you know, working class, traveller family, living day by day. And, you know, it's very difficult to get out of that mindset. And it's only the past few years that, you know, I've come to realise that how am I going to survive, you know, in the future if I haven't done that? So with regards to that money tree, what examples are there of ways that you can put into a money tree that are going to be able to pay back?
So the first thing is get the money out of the main account. So I go on in the skill set piece to teach people how to structure their bank accounts. Look, in 30 years, I can count on one hand the amount of clients that can actually put all the money in one bank account and use it that way and also invest from there. 9 times out of 10, most of us can't. What goes into the one bank account gets spent. Nobody knows what's happened to it. End of the week, you go, oh, what happened to all that money? Where'd it go? It's like the wallet theory. You ever put cash in your wallet? And then if you take one of the 50 notes out and put it in a different compartment, 2 weeks later, it's still there. It's exactly the same thing. I'm telling you, it's that simple. You got to get it out of the main account. You got to put it into another account. Once you've done that, that is for investment. Yeah. What are the investments? Now, this is bordering on advice, but it's not advice. It's general stuff. Depending on the individual and where they are in their life, how old they are, and particularly what they want to achieve and what their tolerance to risk is. But it's pretty basic. It's pretty straightforward. You either invest in property, you either invest in managed funds, or you either invest in direct shares. There is also, people confuse superannuation with, superannuation is an investment vehicle. It's not an investment type, if that makes sense. So there's another little pearl of wisdom. So many people ignore their super. Super is a given. 9.5% of your income, your gross, is paid into a superannuation fund by your employer. It's a given. You want to take it seriously. It is part of your long-term wealth creation strategy. So many people don't know how their super is invested. Inside super, you will invest in property, shares, fixed interest type instruments, and a bit of cash. You need to know how that's invested. Again, it's got to be in line with what you're comfortable with. But there are general parameters in which we can talk about. But to answer your question, what are the money trees? It's called property, residential, commercial. Totally different things. So obviously I can't explain all that in this session.
No, but that's a good start, you know. And I think we've got another question here actually from JK. How much money should we have saved up for emergencies? I know it's very specific, that question from JK, but I think percentages and things like that.
I would recommend minimum 3 months of your living expenses. So if your wage is, you know, just do 3 months worth of your wage, pop to the side. That's your cash cushion. And if people had that now, there wouldn't be an issue. Minimum 3, 6 months is awesome. Yeah. So imagine if you've got 6 months worth of wage, whatever your net wage is that drops into your bank account, or your living expenses, or whatever it is, whatever's the bottom line that you've got to survive on. Imagine if that's in a bank account. You've all of a sudden got 6 months of, okay, what's my next plan of attack? You can actually think instead of be reactive all the time and stressing the hell out of yourself, your family, and everything else. So yes, minimum 3, best case 6. That's rule of thumb.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And do we have any final questions before we wrap up today? Any more? And I think I am definitely going to tune in for one of these financial health checks. Being a founder and an entrepreneur, you put everything into the startup of an organisation. So, you know, I could definitely do the little health checkup. So I'll be tuning in, Tracey. We have been so lucky to have you here today. And you know, I was saying before we came on, I'm really proud to have shared the space with you, the passion that you've got to empower women on their journey and that financial mindset. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where you go in the future. We have got 2 weeks left of the boosts. Everyone give me an But we've got a big lineup. So I'm just going to share my screen with you, just so you can see who we've got.
I'll stop sharing.
So Sorry about this. So can you see the screen there? Can you see the screen? Yeah. So on Tuesday, in response to obviously the challenges we're facing at the moment around the world with the Black Lives Matter movement, we've actually got Catherine, who's one of our partners. She runs a company called Keynote which is all about improved diversity and inclusion at events, in keynotes and events like this. And she's going to be giving us some tips and advice around how to be a good ally, because there's a lot of fear at the moment associated to how to support this movement. And we want to give you some tips and advice that are actually going to be practical. We've got an amazing speaker, Stacey, on Wednesday, who's going to be talking about resilience. We've got Doreen Brown, who's going to show you how to show up online and improve your SEO. And then on the final week, we've got an awesome lineup. We've got Pat, who's going to be talking about empathy. We've got Debbie Haskell-Leventhal, who is a TEDx speaker, awesome human being, and she's actually one of our board members, talking about purpose. And then I don't know if anybody came along to the Game Changers gathering last year, but Tom Dawkins from Start Some Good was there. He's built an extraordinary community, an online community of founders and entrepreneurs who are starting businesses with the sole purpose of making the world a better place. So he's an expert when it comes to building an online community. So lots to look forward to. Main question to you today, guys, is how are you going to start or continue building out your money trees and stop throwing everything in the pit? So that's the question to go away and think about today. Tune in to Tracey, check in, and lots of love. Be kind to yourself and be kind to each other. And we'll see you again soon.